Nathan, welcome to the show. Pronouns are he, him, and you're on with Seth and Matt. How can we add to this for you?
Hey guys, hey Matt. Just wanted to say thanks for taking the call. Called in like several months ago, and you talked to me about recent appendectomy I had, and I want to let you know I'm still a proud atheist. I haven't gotten back into religion, and so basically with
Awesome.
like as far as everything that's going on right now, I've been following the news a lot, both from all different sources on the left, center, even to just paying attention what's going on with like Newsmax, Fox News, and that kind of shit. And it's really daunting because like it doesn't seem like things are getting any better with regards to like people. Like I guess the crux of it is like like it seems like you hear of like all these people that are like just so hesitant to like get vaccinated, and there's a lot of pushback with that, even though like Pfizer has just been approved by the FDA. And moving forward, I guess like like what would be sort of your argument, or how would you convince people to get vaccinated? I guess the long and short of it.
I know in my case, I'll tell you what I did for my dad. I don't know. I've been afraid to ask him whether or not he got vaccinated. Just before Christmas, my dad got COVID, and he's 73, 74. Wow. I'm really terrible with that. I should probably find out, but he got COVID. He went to Christmas at my brother's place, gave it to everyone there before he even knew he had it. And then the people at my brother's house went and that was like Christmas Eve. Christmas Day, they went and spent with other relatives. So for Jesus's birthday, my dad got everybody COVID. Now, it wasn't, he had a cough. He was that was the worst symptom. He didn't have any reason to suspect that he had it. But he got it. And fortunately, he and everyone else who got it in that little pool of germs survived and came out the other side better. And then we had a conversation where he was saying, oh, well, at least now I won't have to go get the vaccine. And I said, Dad, that's not how that works. We don't yet know if you having COVID gives you the antibodies that would make you immune from COVID. And we don't know what's coming down the pipe with regard to variants. I didn't say variants at the time, but I say it all the time now because I love Loki and everything Marvel. But different strains is how I explained it to him. And I was like, and I told him, as someone who accidentally gave the fucking plague of the decade to everyone in their family unintentionally, I would think you would be on the short list of people who would see the value in taking every step to make sure this doesn't happen again, that you don't wind up with whatever the next version of this is and then pass it along to people until somebody dies. There are over 600,000 Americans that have died. 4 million worldwide?
Yeah, 4+ million worldwide.
This is, how little do you have to care about the people around you to not get a vaccine? What do you think the vaccine's going to do? I mean, there were people who were like, oh, how do we know the vaccine doesn't make you sterile? Well, steril's better than dead, but we don't know whether or not it does. There's no reason to think that it does. And my dad at 74 pretty much already sterile, so that's not really an issue. And even if he's not, he should be. There's no way he should be having fucking babies his age. But what are the other things? Oh, it might make you sick. Oh, it could kill you. Well, we have data on whether or not vaccinated people are more or less likely to be dead. And it turns out they're dramatically less likely to be dead. And while we have had breakthrough cases, including the governor of Texas, who's a mask hole extraordinaire, and I'm not celebrating the fact that he got this latest breakthrough variant. I hope that he recovers, although I worry that the second he does, everyone will say, see, it's not that big a deal. Look, our governor's in a wheelchair and he got COVID and he made it through just fine. Rah, rah, rah. I don't need no mask. America, America, America. And I can say,
Right.
okay, could all you jackasses in Texas just move to Florida and leave Texas to the rest of it? Because I'd like to. But my dad said that he would reconsider and that he might consider getting vaccinated. I don't know if I changed his mind. All I know is I had that conversation and it was, I don't want you to die. I don't want you to kill somebody else. You've already seen firsthand what this can be like. And while you made it through and everybody else made it through, it didn't have to be that way.
It's interesting. I saw a CDC report
crossing the street without looking.
Emergency rooms are saying that the unvaccinated are 29 times more likely to end up in the hospital with COVID.
Yep.
And that's the kind of tactic I would take, and I have taken with other people. It's not up in the air. It's not an unknown quantity. Yeah, there have been a few side effects, but if you have 1 to 2% of people dying of COVID, and you've got 0.00012% of people who have a serious side effect from the vaccine, I mean, you do the simple math, but the greater math is that it's 29 times more likely for an unvaccinated person to end up in the hospital in serious condition with COVID. And I think those numbers are compelling, and that's what I've been leading with lately.
It's about the best thing you can do now.
Right.
For each individual that you're going to be facing, Nathan, on this, you're going to have to figure out what their objections are. And I'm somewhere out there. Somebody already knows the link. But what there really needs to be is a website that says, here's an objection to taking the vaccine, and here's the data that counters it. Here's an objection to taking the vaccine, and here's the data that counters it. And then eventually you're going to get down to where the objection is, I don't trust the data. And that's a difficult thing to do when they say, oh, well, your data is biased, because now you're in the same territory as people who think the earth is flat. If they think every country on the world, every health organization on the planet is somehow conspiring to give information that is false with regard to vaccines' effectiveness and the actual spread of the disease. This was the greatest global conspiracy in history for them to just deny the data. And I posted data on Facebook and Twitter yesterday. One of my favorites ever is an animated graph from Dan Goodspeed that shows color-coded by state, adjusted per cases per million, where the most cases are. And it color codes them based on whether they are very Republican, moderately Republican, moderately Democrat, and very Democrat. And so it's red and blue. And if you look at the 25 worst, it's like so red, it's scary. And if you look at the 25 best, it's so, like when I switch back and forth between most cases and fewest cases, it looks like a police flasher, not a siren, but a police flasher is going off in my room. Blue, red, blue, red, blue, red. It's awful. And so I love that graph because it shows, one, every time somebody says there's no difference between Republican and Democratic parties, you're full of shit. It's ridiculous to make anything. This is more telling than anything. But also to pretend that both sides are reasonable, both sides follow the evidence, and that there's no risk of one thing over another. I mean, it's ridiculous. Relatively tiny states like California, Florida, Texas, despite having more cases, when you adjust per million, they're all on the good side of this. Florida's not. Rhode Island's the one kind of outlier for blues.
That's the thing though too. Like, I mean, like my dad, like recently he came up and he was vaccinated. I don't know what his logic is, but like he took the vaccination seriously, and he came up and visited for a little over a week, went back down to Florida and like immediately caught COVID. You know, he was one of a breakthrough case, and he's okay, thank God. Like he just basically had like symptoms of like a like a cold. But like, that's what I mean. Like, he's from Florida, you know, and like, we're guessing like he must have caught like the Delta variant or something. And, you know, we got checked out like right after we heard, and, you know, we came back negative. So we don't know like when or where he caught it necessarily. But like, you know, it's just like between that and like, I don't know, like just, yeah, having conversations with people online, you know, and what you were going back to what you were saying as far as like, you know, showing like data and, you know, actual like evidence that vaccinations are safe and they work. It's like, but at the same time, there's almost like a retort from like all these people that like they get their sources from like, you know, all these other really like, I guess
Let me see if I can articulate what you're, where you're going.
Like they're
You're frustrated that
like
there seems to be so many hubs of legitimate-looking disinformation outlets like OAN, Newsmax, Fox News, etc. And how do we combat that?
So like so like if you point to like CDC or like anything credible, it's like they have, you know, just something else that they're convinced of, and a different like quote unquote source that really, you know, isn't like reliable, but like they're convinced of it. So it's like, how do you counter that? You know,
I think your question is, how do I change someone else's mind? And the truth is that only they can change their mind. You can present. I wrote a whole book about this. Confessions of a Former Fox News Christian deals with the propagandism of the specific Christian nationalist right-wing talking points that also play into the fomenting of a distrust of science and a distrust of everybody who is not in that particular tribe or in-group. And so there are a whole lot of factors working against you. I think the best we can do is to present better information, show why it's credible. But honestly, it's like dealing with an addict. I can't make someone stop drinking or doing meth or whatever. I can lead them to the solutions, but ultimately they're going to have to be the ones to commit to making that positive change in their own life. And so we do as much as we can, but we can do no more. Okay.
Yep. And sometimes you got to realize that you may not be the one person who can do this. Maybe they hear it from you and nope, they're just not going to listen to it. But maybe somebody else they have a conversation says the same thing later, and all of a sudden it's a little less strange. The best thing you can do is keep giving the best information and keep trying to give the best arguments you can. And for me, there's consequences. Like, if somebody's not vaccinated, they're not coming to my house. Now, I mean, okay, right. There may be an exception for someone who cannot get vaccinated, in which case, you know, they can mask up, and we'll do our best to protect them. But if they're able to get vaccinated and they haven't, they're not welcome in my home for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine for some people, because there's plenty of people who don't want to come to my house, and that's okay. But it's difficult quite often to change people's minds. And sometimes it takes time, and sometimes it takes more than one person, and you may not be the right one. All you can do is keep doing your best with the best information you have, and find out what their primary objections are, and come up and actually do a minute of research and find the best response, the best data that counters those. And if what you ultimately get down to is, I don't accept the data, what data would they accept? And what data are they accepting? Mm-hmm. Because what we see happening is the world's best and brightest health experts are pretty much all on one page. And people who probably failed high school biology, or who struggled through, you know, anything related to disease and physiology stuff in school, are suddenly experts because they read a website that wasn't part of the mainstream news. Oh, they found the secrets that they don't want you to know. And when you start pointing out how they're going down a conspiracy theorist route, how the scientific community doesn't have something to gain from lying about vaccines. They don't have anything to gain from lying about a global pandemic. But that's about all I got. I got to move on.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think that's basically like the biggest thing is just trying to convince a lot of those people that like there's really no gain in it. So I mean, I guess I just need to try and work on my as far as like being able to convince them of that. Like it's, but I
Probably one of the best
appreciate
questions you can
guys'
ask.
time. And
Thanks, Nathan. Probably one of the best questions you can ask is, what would change your mind? What is it that you need to hear that would change your mind? What data are you missing? How could we possibly do this? Because one of us is clearly wrong. And you in this case have all of the scientists on your side, and they don't. So what do they got on their side?
yeah, right on. Thank you guys.
Thanks,
Hey,
Nathan.
Matt,
Appreciate
you
it.
notice that do your research is one of those things that has come to the point in our minds when it automatically, I don't know about you, but I automatically start discrediting the person who says it. I don't mean to, like I need to go and look past the argument, but we've gotten to the point where you see some all caps rant, and at the end they go, do your research. And immediately in my mind and heart, I am already like, oh God, they got it from InfoWars. They got it from Reddit, and they decided it was gospel when it came to the COVID-19 vaccine. I don't know. I found that phenomenon going on. It's interesting to see how different words catch on in the culture and the baggage that's attached to them. So
it's amazing how many experts there are. Hey, I just thought of something. I should have done this ages ago. So listen up for just a second. I love the community we built here at the Line Network, particularly with regard to the Hang Up. And I'm looking at YouTube, and I'm seeing that right now there's about 1,600 or so, a little over that, watching live. And that's great. I don't really ever I'll do the make sure you like and subscribe. But you know what would be really cool? Right now there's 300 likes. I'd like for us to every week shoot for 666 likes during the live show. I want us to get, I'd love to see that be 666 during the live show. If for no other reason than if we could consistently hit 666 during the live show on likes, that could become a meme thing that could freak out some theists to the point where they're not only calling in, but maybe they'll come in and add the 667th like type of thing, just to get it over the hump. Or maybe they'll come in and add 666
Matt
dislikes.
and I can look at the camera and go, now I must find a new host body. We'll do something like that to really flip out the theists. It'll be fun.